when the narcissist realizes they have played themselves. What happens when the narcissist becomes aware that he or she has played themselves? What happens at that moment of understanding and realization, the sudden dawning that somehow the narcissist has managed to play themselves? What is it that the narcissist experiences? Is there a sense of fury at having played themselves? Is there a sense of anguish, misery, sadness even, at having this revelation come to the fore of their mind? What is it when the narcissist realizes that they have played themselves? I mention this to you because, as a consequence of various communications that I receive from you, loyal and educated listeners, that somebody mentioned this particular video to me and identified it again that this was the manifestation of misinformation. The narcissist does not realize that he or she has played themselves. It simply does not happen. Why is that? Well, let us deal first of all with the vast majority of narcissists that are unaware, what I categorize as the lesser narcissists and the mid-range narcissists. It is important to remember that narcissism is a central self-defense mechanism. It is there to defend the narcissist against threats to control because of the necessity of maintaining control at all times with those that are on our radar. Therefore, the self-defense mechanism is such that it ensures that the narcissist acts with a sense of entitlement, is not accountable, that the narcissist is not in a position to express meaningful and genuine remorse, to exhibit genuine and meaningful contrition, because all of those things would amount to the transference of power and control from the narcissist to the other individual, and that flies contrary to the necessity of the assertion of control. Quite simply, the narcissist is utterly incapable of recognizing that they have done something wrong when they are an unaware narcissist, that they have indeed failed and that they've played themselves, because the narcissism will not let it happen. It cannot do so. It is an intrinsic, central, hermetically sealed self-defense mechanism that will never, ever allow the narcissist to see what has actually occurred. The narcissism blinds the narcissist to the failings, to the hypocrisy, to the benign and malign manipulations. "But I was just trying to be helpful," cries the narcissist. "Well, I only hit you because you made me," asserts the narcissist. If there was any recognition that the narcissist had somehow played themselves, this would mean the narcissist does not have control, and therefore the narcissism cannot let that happen. In the same way that Colonel Gaddafi claimed that all his people loved him, yet it was widely reported of uprising in the streets, it wasn't the case that he knew about all of that and decided simply to lie. He honestly and deluded from the alternative perspective believed that his people loved him, and that's why he was motivated to say what he did. The narcissism would not allow him to see all of these repeated threats to his control in that particular moment. It told him, no, your people love you. No, there is no uprising. And therefore this is what he told the relevant reporters. Similarly, the narcissism will not allow the unaware narcissist to know that they have caused a problem for themselves, because to do so would threaten control and therefore strike at the heart of the very existence of the narcissist. And instead, with the lesser narcissist, they just don't see that there is a problem. They breeze through life, the proverbial wrecking ball, unable to identify that their behaviours are causing problems, both for themselves and other people. What are you talking about? Deal with it. It's the way that it is. Why are you doing this? Why shouldn't I? You're met with fairly bold, dismissive, brushed off in a brash manner, so that the lesser's narcissism effectively quashes, quickly and often brutally, the perceived threat to control that you pose. Similarly, the narcissism will not allow that lesser narcissist to see that there's any suggestion that they've played themselves, so it simply will not ever happen. With the mid-range narcissist, they can of course see that they may have found themselves in a predicament, in a pickle, in a particularly awkward situation, but of course their narcissism operates to tell them, but it's not your fault. Lost that relationship? She was a bitch. Lost the job? My boss always hated me. Didn't win the lottery? It's biased against me. Neighbours not talking to you? They're stuck up. Friends walked away from you? Such friends they call themselves. Each and every time, the mid-range narcissist will have an excuse, a reason, a deflection, an explanation, which means that it's not their fault, but it's your fault, and his fault, and her fault, and their fault. All of these individuals are at fault, but never the mid-range narcissist. And again, by extension of that nature of the self-defense mechanism, this clearly means that the narcissist is not able to see that they have caused a problem for themselves. They cannot see where they might have played themselves. So there is no recognition, no response. They do not sit and self-reflect and think to themselves as the dusk falls, do you know what? I fucked that up myself, didn't I? That just simply doesn't happen. The narcissist is more likely to sit there and think, oh, woe is me. I can't believe it. My wife has left me. She's disloyal. What a harridan. What did I do to deserve this? After everything that I've done everything that I've done for her. And that self-pity occasions that narcissist to pick up the phone and ring a relative or a friend and bemoan his fallen status in order to indirectly assert control over the absent wife and, of course, to directly assert control over the listener. And with their soothing, supportive tones in response, those individuals not only give fuel and demonstrate they are under control, but they also confirm indirectly in the unconscious mind of that mid-range narcissist that they have control over the absent wife. The narcissist does not sit there and think, I've played myself, oh my goodness me, what a dumb fuck I am. The narcissist might say to somebody else, my life's a complete mess and a misery, what am I to do? But that isn't a genuine recognition of it. It's simply another form of manipulation that the narcissism allows for the purpose of asserting control over the listener, drawing pity, sympathy, confirmation of support, which enables the narcissist to receive fuel and, of course, ensures that they have asserted control over that particular listener. Thus, with the lesser narcissist, they have no awareness of what has happened, and with the mid-ranger, they may well see that there has been an adverse consequence for them, but it's not their fault, and therefore there is no moment of self-reflection. There is no moment of, dear oh dear, I brought this on myself. It just simply doesn't happen. So there is no moment of realization with those unaware narcissists. There is simply no awareness whatsoever with the lesser, and the mid-ranger will just go into blaming everybody else but themselves for their predicament. What about the greater and the ultra? Well, first of all, these more evolved narcissists are not going to play themselves. Quite simply, the calculated and higher echelon method by which their narcissism operates, they are not going to find themselves in that situation. But even if they did, all that they would do is recognize this didn't work, I'm now going to do something to resolve that, and redouble their efforts to utilize their extensive resources and networks to bring a malign influence against those that have so far sought to confound the assertion of control. The greater and the ultra will simply not look at it in a situation regarding that they've played themselves, because ultimately that is highly unlikely to ever happen, and where it might, they would only see it as a learning exercise. It would not cause them to feel crushing defeat. It would not cause them to collapse internally. None of those things. So why is it that somebody suggests that there would be such an adverse outcome for the narcissist, that they would see this when the narcissist realizes that they played themselves? Well, first of all, why would they say that the narcissist realizes that when it can't happen? Quite simply, they don't understand narcissism. If they did, they would not have spoken in such terms. So it may well be that, for a starting point, it has been driven from a misunderstanding or a lack of understanding about how narcissism works. However, moreover, it's likely to be as a consequence of feeling a need to have some kind of downside and poor outcome for the narcissist. Where this is driven by an empathic response, this is a consequence of emotional thinking, which takes the narcissistic trait of pride and corrupts it to say, nobody treats me like this, and gets away with it, and occasions the individual to believe, albeit incorrectly yet honestly, that of course the narcissist does suffer some kind of moment of redemption and misery and downside from realizing that they've played themselves. No, it doesn't happen, but that victim is misled into believing that it occurs as a consequence of a combination of a misunderstanding and lack of understanding about narcissism and their own corrupting and obscuring influence of their emotional thinking. In other instances, such a video is created because the individual is an unaware mid-range narcissist, and their proclamation that the narcissist suffers in this way isn't them giving insight into their own circumstances, because of course their unaware narcissism doesn't allow them to do that. No, what is actually occurring is their grandiosity, their exaggerated sense of importance and ability and reach manifests in terms of believing that the narcissist suffers in that way. Though, of course, they don't realise that this is their narcissism because they're unaware. They, mistakenly, think that they are a victim and that they are merely talking about the narcissist and the way that the narcissist feels. Their grandiosity, their narcissistic perspective, means that they are unable to actually understand what really goes on, and instead their narcissism compels them to talk about how the narcissist is done down in such a way in order to make them, the unaware narcissist, feel as if they are in control. I explain to you precisely the way that it is, based upon the way that me and my kind think. I don't do this to make you think that we're invulnerable. I do this to ensure that you actually understand, so that you don't fall into the traps of thinking, ha, the narcissist is going to sit there and feel miserable because he realises that he's played himself. No, because that's not going to help you. That will heighten your own emotional thinking. It may even cause you to try and bring about such a state of events, which you cannot do so. Instead, you need to realise that the most effective way to cause a problem for us is through no contact, because that is what we absolutely hate. All the information that you need about narcissism is provided here. No punches are pulled. I give you the honest, brutal truth, so that you understand, and in so doing, my legacy is extended. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.